at a cheap price before he peaks, then that seems like a gamble that a program might be willing to take.
Tune in every other Tuesday during the 5 o'clock hour to Nuanez Now to hear Justin Engel, a University of Montana business professor, talk with me, Colter Nuanez, about all of the ins and outs of sports and business.
It's time for Montana's only daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I like football!
Now here's your host, Colter Nuanez.
I've been saying it for the last little while, maybe a little bit more than a month, but track and field has never been better in the state of Montana. And holy cow, did these athletes prove that this weekend. Welcome in. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you had a great Memorial Day. What a beautiful day it was yesterday. Holy cow, finally. I had my Fitbit on, and I was with my little boy. And he's just a couple days after 4 months old. And we walked a grand total of 15 miles yesterday. Just walked all around Missoula, all over the place, just basking in the sun. It was just so nice, so fun looking at the trees and all the nature and unplugging for a little while. So hopefully you had a great weekend as well. We also went up to the Mission Valley, went to the Garden of 1,000 Buddhas. I also got some golf in, so all good on this side. Officially the start of summer. That's how I always like to think of Memorial Day weekend. So hopefully you had some fun times as well. Plenty, and I mean plenty, of unbelievable performances from the wide world of high school sports over the weekend, including the six all-class state records falling at the AA meet, and a total of 7 all-class records falling throughout the weekend in track and field. You also had the wrap-up of tennis and the completion of state softball, which also had just some unbelievably thrilling endings. How about Helena Capital? They win on a walk-off inside the park home run in extra innings. I really don't know if you can get much better than that. By the way, worth noting, we are preempted, at least early this week. The NAIA College World Series is going on, so that's what's going to be on SWX the next couple days. But if you'd like to see us live and in person, you certainly always can on the ESPN MT app. Ton to get to today, including a couple great guests. Logan Todorovich, who had, I would argue, one of the great state track meets in the history of the state of Montana over the weekend. She's a Helena High senior. She's bound for Baylor. She will be our lead guest here to go over the weekend that was. And the weekend that was for her literally couldn't have been any better. She sets the all-class record in the 100-meter dash. She also wins the 100-meter hurdles. She also wins the long jump. She also wins the high jump. She also runs a leg on a state record-shattering 4x100-meter relay team. That helps the Helena High girls absolutely lap the field and cruise to a third straight Class AA state championship. Logan's younger sister, Madeline, also, I mean, if it wasn't for Logan, Madeline would have had the all-time great weekend that everybody's talking about. It was still pretty darn good. Madeline wins in the 400 meters, the 300-meter hurdles, and she runs legs on both the 4x1 and 4x400 team, and she gets second in the high jump. So the Todorovich sisters, just those two, they would have ran away with the AA title all by themselves. So Logan will join us here, I'd say, in about 15 minutes. We're also going to hear from, at 5:30, the head coach of the Corvallis High School track and field program, Spencer Hulls. He seems like a repeat guest this time of year because Corvallis is absolutely the best program in the state of Montana when it comes to Class A track and field on both the girls and boys sides. Last year, the state meets came down to thrilling finishes. Corvallis won both the meets after a long delay because of thunder and lightning by having great performances in the relays. This year, the boys were pushed by Whitefish for sure, but the girls, they just ran away with the title. And Olivia Lewis what a performance by her. She crushes the 300-meter all-class hurdles record, and that was one of just many records that were set across the state. So we'll go through the record-setting marks. This is obviously a really challenging first couple days because you're putting a bow on the entire high school sports season. It's the only season that comes to a completion with all of the championships happening at once. So tennis, softball, and track. Then you multiply the fact that there's teams from across the spectrum, and you couple in the fact that there's boys and girls when it comes to track and tennis, and then track just has so many events. So we try to just highlight this. If you are listening because you want to hear the name of one of your people, your family members, your friends, your neighbors, oh, this kid's aunt or uncle, or I know this person's, in-laws or whatever, I promise you we're going to get there. I'm just we try to do this first in terms of our interviews. It's based on availability, like who can jump on the radio live as soon as possible. And so the scheduling has no rhyme or reason to it whatsoever, and besides who texts or calls me back first. That's basically how it goes. We got lucky today because probably the headlining stories coming out of this were Corvallis sweeping in Class A and the Helena High girls three-peating in Double A. But I promise you, if you have an athlete that you're hoping to hear about, we will get to them. For our Treasure State Stars today, I have 30 athletes highlighted. We're going to do 2 different segments of Treasure State Stars today. If by chance you don't hear the name you're hoping to hear, though, we're going to get there because there's just so many great athletes. This also, though, we try to highlight the events and the news of the weekend, but this also now launches us into the season that I enjoy the most, and that's our senior spotlight season. So we will highlight as many of the outstanding both boys and girls athletes from all around the state of Montana. AA, A, B, C, boys, girls, multi-sport athletes, single sport athletes, college-bound, not college-bound, champions. I believe last year we highlighted a total of 38 young people. When we started this thing, I tried to pick 5 of each. Then I realized, well, that was just a silly quest because there is just so many more than just 5 young people that's worth telling their stories. And there's a lot of layers to all these young people's stories. So no idea how many we're going to get to. We're going to get to as many as we possibly can, but likely, if you're looking for a name, that's coming down the pipe. Hour number 2, I have some thoughts to share about Bill Walton as well as the NBA. The news of the weekend over the weekend yesterday, Big Red, one of the iconic people in the world of basketball, Bill Walton, died at the age of 71. He died of cancer. I don't know if his cancer was much publicized, and that seemed to be like the way that Bill Walton probably would have wanted it. If you'd like to feel happy about something, I would suggest watching I Am the Happiest Man in the World. It's the 2-part documentary series that ESPN Films did on Bill Walton. And I believe that Bill Walton, I think you could make the argument, I actually don't really know if it is an argument. I think it's a definitive fact. I think Bill Walton was the most beloved person in the basketball world. There's certainly more iconic figures. There's certainly more mystic, sort of like deified or sort of mythical figures, the Michael Jordans and Wilt Chamberlains of the world. But in terms of being truly beloved for every part of his career, whether it was as arguably the greatest high school player in the history of the state of California, or arguably one of the 3 or 4 best college players in the history of NCAA Division I men's basketball, or as a injury-riddled but still Hall of Fame professional basketball player, or in the second part of his life as a zany and off-the-wall but absolutely beloved color commentator for the Pac-12 network. You'd be hard-pressed to find a more beloved figure in the history of sport, let alone basketball, than Bill Walton. So we'll talk a little bit more about just why that is. We'll also have to address the continuing story of the NCAA lawsuits. There was 3 of them that were settled last week, which then, I think that there's sort of this thought that this then effectively eliminates amateurism, the concept of amateurism, destroys the concept of the student athlete forever. I think there's a lot more nuance to that. I also think there's a lot less nuance to that because I think this has been happening and it's been sort of behind a veil for, 6 decades. Now it's just the veil's gone. There is nothing to hide behind. It's all out in the open. what does that mean for the way we perceive college sports? We'll talk about that today as well as this week as well. And we'll also talk some NBA playoffs. What anticlimactic conference finals. We'll see if the Timberwolves can stay alive for one more game, but there's never been a team that's come back from down 3-0. I thought the Pacers might steal one last night in Indiana, but not so fast. Derek White hits a corner three, and Boston cruises into the NBA Finals. Is that the easiest path ever to a conference title? A lot of people would argue that it is. A lot of people also will argue any and every possible way they can against this Celtics squad. So we'll talk some of that after we get done with Coach Holes from Corvallis at 5:30. So that's what's coming up. You want to be a part of the show, you always can. 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Let's dive into a Prep Extra presented by Farmers State Bank. Farmers State Bank has been enriching the lives of Montanans since 1907. The state champions at the AA level, Gallatin boys for the second year in a row, and Helena High girls for the third year in a row. Nash Coley and Jack Murray steal the show for the Raptors. Those two young men will join us tomorrow. We have a Zoom call scheduled with them right before the show, so we'll do them together. Coley erupts for a unbelievable time in the 300-meter hurdles to break a state record that stood since 2000. Jake Larson, one of the great athletes ever from the mining city, a Butte native, then came to Montana. His career got derailed by an injury because of a freak accident. He got really, really hurt when the deck up there at the, I can't remember what bar it was, but it was up in Polson. Everybody that knows the story knows the story. The deck collapsed and it buried Jake Larson. He lived, and other people were also hurt, but it completely derailed his athletic career. But he was an absolute freak athlete. And that hurdles record stood since 2000, but Nash Coley broke it, and he did it pretty easily. He's been threatening it all year, but he was able to do it in walk-off fashion. Jack Murray absolutely stole the show. We talked about the discus record all year long. I thought if anybody was going to break it, it was going to be Aiden Krause of Kalispell Glacier. If anybody else was going to break it, I thought it was going to be Danny Sermon of Missoula Sentinel. Not so fast. Jack Murray absolutely goes nuclear. 198 feet plus. Shatters the state record by more than 5 feet. A personal best on his end by more than 11 feet. So we'll talk to those two young men tomorrow. We also told you about the Todorovic sisters and how much they paced Helena High, but 3 in a row for the Bengals. That's certainly no joke. In Class A, repeat champions on both sides, the Corvallis boys and girls. And the news of the weekend from Laurel was that Olivia Lewis, the record she's been chasing for quite some time, she was able to break it in the 300-meter hurdles, breaks it by more than a second. So congratulations to her. Class B, the Jefferson boys win their 4th in a row. Dalton Noble, who's bound for Montana State, he wins the shot put as Jefferson goes 1, 2, 3, 4 in that event. Noble also got 3rd in the disc as Tavin McMaster won the discus, so Jefferson gets the 4-peat. Class B girls, Huntley Project rides Avery Geddes' awesome performance. She won the state titles in the 400 and the 800 and the triple jump, and also gets 2nd in the high jump. And Huntley Project runs away with the Class B title. Cadence Marikai also has the 300-meter hurdles gold medal to help Huntley Project to this team title. And then in Class C, the Belt boys win their first ever title. Johnny Tingy wins the disc, Lane Waldron wins the shot put, and Ethan Triplett wins the 100 meters to help pace the Belt boys. And then in the girls, Savage and Roberts split it. Roberts was in control. Taylor Chirick, who we'll get to in just a minute, she had an unbelievable meet at the Class C level. She won 4 gold medals to set the pace. But Roberts was ahead by 8 points over Savage. But Roberts, heartbreaking. They false start in the 4x400 meter relay, and Savage ends up getting 2nd, so they get all the way up to tie. So we have co-state champions, Roberts and Savage, at the Class C girls level. Class AA softball, Anna Cockhill, an inside the park home run in extra innings to lift Helena Capital past Kalispell Glacier. Go look at Daniel Shepard of the Helena Independent Records video on Twitter. Talk about thrilling. It's an unbelievable video. It's an unbelievable way to win the state championship. Anna Cockhill, by the way, if the last name sounds familiar, she is the daughter of Billy Cockhill, who was the offensive coordinator at Montana in the late 90s, early 2000s. And Anna herself is coming to University of Montana to play softball next year, so that's a good get. Class A softball, Columbia Falls goes back-to-back. They beat Billings Central twice on Saturday. The last game didn't get done until 11:15 at night. The Seaballs coach is joking. He's like, man, I can't do this. This is way past my bedtime. I feel you there, buddy. But back-to-back for the Wildcats. They beat Billings Central twice after Billings Central had been undefeated all year long. That's the second year in a row that Sioux Falls has beaten Billings Central. And then in the BC tournament, Manhattan rallies all the way back, and they win. A heart-wrenching story. Delaney Doherty, a young lady there at Manhattan, she lost her life in a car wreck last fall, and she was a member of this team, and they certainly dedicated this performance to her. So we'll follow up on that one as well. But there's your state champion scoreboard from over the weekend. We also mentioned tennis last week. We'll have some tennis in our Treasure State Stars and some follow-up later on this week. But we got to take an early break because the queen of the AA meet, Logan Todorovich, what an unbelievable meet she had. She scores 50, count them, 50 points. By the way, that's the most you can score. She gets 4 individual gold medals and a gold medal in the 4x100 meter relay as part of a record-setting time for the second year in a row. She's our headlining guest coming out of the AA tournament, Helena High's finest. On the other side, don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
It's the day you've been waiting for, opening day for your Missoula Paddleheads, coming up Tuesday, June 4th, opposite the Great Falls Voyagers. To celebrate, the Paddleheads will be giving away a 2024 specialty poster to the first 1,000 fans in the stadium. The place to be this summer for family entertainment is Legion's Field at Ogren Park, as your Paddleheads look to make a postseason push for the 4th straight year. It all begins with opening day, Tuesday, June 4th. Tickets and more at GoPaddleheads.com.
It's time for the Montana Club Comfort Food and Game Day Drink Specials. Every Saturday and Sunday, the club's Grizzarita Huckleberry Margarita, Caesars, and Bloody Marys are only $8. Pair them with custom grilled prime grade Montana Club steaks or a tender prime rib sandwich. And don't forget the cheese fries. Full menu at MontanaClub.com. So get into the Montana Club today for an unrivaled flavor experience on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Get ready, Montana. Place bets on your favorite teams and games, both collegiate and professional, with Sportsbet Montana. With over 500 locations statewide, it's never been easier to get in on the action. Choose from spreads, money lines, parlays, and more. Excitement? You bet. Action? You bet. Winning? You bet. Visit sportsbetmontana.com or download the app now. Sportsbet Montana, Montana's exclusive sportsbook.
What's up, Missoula? This is Junior Bergen from your Montana Grizzlies. Did you know for just $31 a month, you can get unlimited car washes at Dazzlers? I always take my Jeep to Dazzlers. It's the most efficient and most thorough car wash in the entire city of Missoula. Download the new Dazzlers app for as little as $31 a month. You can get unlimited car washes. And for $37 a month, you can get the best car wash Dazzlers has available. Treat your car like it deserves to be treated at Dazzlers Car Wash of Missoula. It's the most efficient and most thorough car wash in the entire city of Missoula.
Buzzing, flowers blooming, snow melting, and spring cleaning or updating? Liberty Electric is here for any and all of your electrical needs, no matter the season. Whether you're looking to upgrade your air conditioner for the summer, invest in a backup generator for those powerless nights due to storms, or need that lighting upgraded to LED, the professionals at Liberty Electric are ready to offer their services. Call 406-541-WIRE. That's 406-541-9473.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio with special guest Raju Zebrook.
When it comes to dollar and cents and now NIL deals, it's a business, and people just have to recognize that these were their choices considering their opportunities. It's a job for them. If you don't like the boss that you work for, what do? You look for a new job while you're still working, and that's exactly what these young ones have done.
Catch Regine Seabrook once a week on Nuanez Now, 4 to 6 p.m. on ESPN 1029 Missoula.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Records fell in bunches at the high school state track and field championships across Montana over the weekend. Happy Memorial Day. I'm Colter Nuanez. At the Class AA meet in Great Falls, the athletes had an all-out assault on the record books as 6 all-class records fell, including the longest-standing record in Montana. Bose McGalton's Jack Murray had the throw of a lifetime, setting a personal best by more than 11 feet and shattering a record that had stood since 1982 when he heaved the discus 198 feet 1 inch to shatter the state record by 5 feet. Murray's toss plus Nash Coley's record-breaking effort in the 300-meter hurdles helped the Raptors claim their second straight Class AA title. Coley ran 36.91 seconds in the long hurdles to break a record that stood since 2000. The Todorovich sisters of Helena High helped the Bengals earn a three-peat. Logan Todorovich, a senior who's bound for Baylor next season, set the all-class state record in the 100 meters while also piling up titles in the 100 hurdles, the long jump, the high jump, and running a leg on the state record-setting sprint relay team. Madeline Todorovich, a junior, won the 400 meters and the 300 hurdles while also running legs on both relays. And finally, Nathan Neal capped his stellar Bozeman High career by setting an all-class state record for the second straight day. Less than 24 hours after shattering the mile record, he ran 8 minutes 53 seconds to obliterate the 2-mile record. For more on all of the state championships from over the weekend, tune in to Nuanez Now between 4 and 6 each day this week.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by King Ranch Golf Course. 1, 2, 3. Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Weekend around the world of high school sports in the state of Montana. Welcome back. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Most days, SWX Montana Television, but today the NAIA World Series is on for college baseball. Well, you can always find us on the ESPN MT app as well as on the YouTube. Appreciate Tommy for getting that back up in action. Also, welcome back to Andrew. Houghton's back on the other side of the glass, so we'll bring him in for plenty of conversation, get an update on how his trip went back east, and also talk some NBA and some Bill Walton in hour number 2. But right now, we go to the ESPN MT hotline and welcome in a young lady who dominated the Class AA track meet up in Great Falls and a repeat guest. She was with us about this time last year coming out of an outstanding state meet as a junior. Now she's a senior there at Helena High. Logan Todorovich joining us here on Nuanez Now. Logan, thanks for being with us. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. First of all, congratulations on all the success. Just tell us about it. I mean, going into it, you know it's your last high school meet no matter how it goes. So how are you feeling, and how were you able to go out with such an unbelievable performance like you did?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of the last meet, and I had to put everything on the table. So I think just doing my best, and I think letting everything happen the way it happened, and yeah.
Well, I know you've always had a busy slate, no matter what sort of meet you're competing in, but a really busy one this weekend as well. So when you know you have to compete in 6 different events and run on a relay team and all these different things, you got prelims and then finals, how do you go about managing it, both mentally and physically?
Yeah, I think physically I knew I was ready. I'd been practicing all week and all year really for it, and so physically I knew I was ready for it, so I just think I had to mentally be prepared, not let one event get to me if it didn't go the way I wanted. I have lots of really good teammates and really supportive coaches behind me, so that helps always, really supportive family. But I think just going into it focused and knowing that I was ready to compete was like the biggest thing.
Let's start with Friday, because I know you kind of had 3 or 4 events each day, but when you got off to the great start, I mean, the long jump was certainly an event to watch with you competing, your younger sister Madeline, as well as the great girls from Sentinel like Ava Kellenberg and Emily McElmurray. So what did you think of just the field of competition, and how much did that help you just propel yourself forward to repeat in that event?
No, yeah, for sure. Especially, those Sentinel girls, and there was some other girls. I mean, you can't overlook anybody. They're all super athletic, really good athletes coming out of Montana, especially in the jump. So I think just going in there and focusing on what I need to do one step at a time, I think that was a really big deal. And so I think just letting one jump go and the next, and just kind of focusing on it as I go instead of trying to think of the whole picture. So I just think focusing on one thing was a big thing too, yeah.
Logan Todorovich joining us here on Nuanez Now, part of the Helena High girls track and field team that just won their 3rd straight Class AA state championship. And I know you and your sister and several other young ladies have been a big part of this, but also you lost some huge contributors like Odessa Zentz, who's now at Northern Arizona, Callie Hartnett, who's now at the University of Utah. So what was different about this year's team, and how does this one feel to compare to the other ones? I'm sure it's pretty great to go out with a 3rd straight during your senior year.
Yes, it feels very good. I think those girls like Kylie and Odessa, they definitely started this program with those state championships. I think just trying to continue to bring the energy that they brought, and I think that was super helpful. And again, like I said, we have really, really good girls here that do track. The coaches are incredible, and I think just the whole entire environment is super healthy and a really good one to compete in, so that helps a lot.
That's one thing that I find so cool and so interesting is you're talking about all these different young ladies, whether your teammates or the people you're competing against. And right now in Montana, I mean, there's girls from all over this state that are going to the highest level. I mean, you yourself, you're going to Baylor. Ava Kellenberg, she's going to UCLA. I mean, you got D1 athletes all over the place. I guess two-part question. Do you have any idea why that might be? I mean, do you feel like it's just kind of because you guys all are competing against each other? And if so, how much does the competition sort of spur you on to get you to raise to your highest level?
Yes, I think the competition is a big deal, and I think it's super fun to compete against girls who are so good. And I just think Montana, honestly, is just a little bit underestimated. I think there are a lot of good athletes who come out of here and maybe who are overlooked just because we are from Montana, and being from a state that it's so cold and the weather's never really good, especially for the outdoor sport for track. I think it's hard sometimes. People don't really understand the recruiting process. It's a really hard one, and it's long, and you kind of have to put yourself out there. But I think there's a lot of athletes in Montana who are really good, and especially this year, the competition was incredible, and it was really fun, and I'm excited that I was able to be a part of it for sure.
No doubt. Well, take us through then your Saturday. The 100 meters was the one that got everybody's eye, and that was an incredibly fast heat, and you smashed the all-class state record. So did you think you had 12:06 in you?
I think I felt ready. I was definitely my last event with trials would be my 9th event or race, I guess. So I think just going into it relaxed, and I was very, I had something to eat before, but I didn't really do a big warm up just because I was I just need to go out there. I need to get the points for our team. But I wouldn't say I was expecting it. I definitely was going out there to win, obviously, because that's the goal every time you go out there and compete. But I think just going out there and running as fast as I can. I'd only ran it once this year, so I didn't really have any expectations, I would say, except just to try my best. And so, yeah.
Amazing. Only ran it once and break the all-class state record. Our senior spotlight here on Nuanez Now, the first one of what will be many highlighting some of the great senior athletes from all sports all around the state of Montana. Logan Todorovich, a Helena High senior, joining us here on ESPN Radio as well as the ESPN MT app. When it comes to your future, Logan, I follow you on the social media, so I saw when you were making some of your visits and sort of getting your name out there. What stood out about Baylor, and what do you think about this opportunity to go compete in the Big 12?
I'm very grateful and thankful that I'm given this opportunity. I looked at a ton of great schools, really good programs, great coaches, great girls. And I think Baylor just stood out to me just because the program itself for track and field was really good. The coaches were something I was looking for. They're very similar to my coaches, and I was looking for that. The school itself is really good, and I really liked the warm weather down in Texas.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. That's good.
Somewhere a little colder.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that is going to be a good thing for you to get into training in the warmer weather. The coolest part to me about track, too, is that you can attain all your goals no matter where you go because your times are your times, and that's just what it is. So if you like the fit, you like the academics, all that sort of stuff, that's pretty cool. I read the great article as well in the Helena newspaper about you and your sister. So a couple things about that. First of all, what's it been like going through this with her? Because you guys have been as good as anybody. You know, if it wasn't for you, she'd be the one that's the top point scorer of this meet, but she's still unbelievable. I mean, winning 4 different titles this last weekend as well. So what's it been like to sort of having your sister going along side by side with you these last couple of years?
Yeah, having my sister has been super helpful mentally and physically, like I said. She's just kind of like the shoulder I lean on for the, again, physical, but the emotional part too. It's nice having someone to be able to relate to you, especially someone who is related to you. So I think it's been super nice and helpful with my with this track, but just in life in general too. So.
Well, and this is no mistake, right? I mean, I thought that was one part that article recognized, which I thought was very important. Is you two young ladies have tremendous athletic talent, certainly God-given gifts, but also this has taken a ton of hard work and a ton of sacrifice to reach this level of performance that you guys have. So just take us through that element. What are the biggest sacrifices you've had to make, and what are some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I think that's just something that a lot of times is overlooked just because it is a lot. And Maddie and I both try and get the best grades in school. We both work, and then we try and hang out with our friends, and we make time for our family. So I think it's just trying to make sure we have a balance of everything. But we also, again, want to go and compete at the next level, so it is important to make sure we're practicing enough and we're eating well, we're getting enough sleep. But I think just making sure everything is balanced, even out, I think that's like the biggest, most important thing. And obviously over the course of the 4 years, we've definitely got a hang of it, but it is challenging at first. But I think having both of us go through it, I think it's very helpful.
One last question about this last weekend, too. We got to ask about the relay, because that also set an all-class state record. You got to be on that team with Maddie as well as Hazel Bishop and Reagan Scogan. So you could see the times throughout the year kind of creeping up towards it, and then you're running times that are right there at it, and then you guys blew it out of the water at the state meet. So what did that take? And that must have been pretty fun to watch your sister run the anchor leg on that one.
Yeah, so actually Maddie and I and Reagan and Hazel, we all ran together, obviously, on this team last year too. And this year we decided to switch up the legs. I had been running anchor, and Maddie had been starting it. And this year we were like, halfway through the year, we were like, let's try and switch it up. So I started doing the relay first, and Maddie started ending it. And we noticed our time was getting a little bit better. And we were trying to focus on like getting handoffs, but it's obviously a little bit harder when you're trying it with someone new. I'd never handed the baton off. Maddie never finished it before. So I think just going through the whole process was definitely challenging, but it was really fun. And our coach, McNeil, who's our sprint coach at Helena High, she was super helpful through the whole entire thing. And I think that was super nice to have somebody obviously helping us through that. But yeah, it was fun.
Well, now when it comes to your transition to the next level, I hear you're going to be a multi-athlete. Is that right? You're going to do the heptathlon?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so what do you think about that? Because you have had such a diverse career, and now you get to sort of specialize in 7 events, but still have 7 events to work on. So what do you think of becoming a heptathlete?
I'm really excited. I've always liked the high, like a lot of events in one and meet, high adrenaline rush. Like I just really like all of that. So I think being able to focus on all these events and put them all together, I think it's really fun, and I really enjoy the heptathlon. I'm really excited for next year in the future, I guess, with the heptathlon.
Well, it should be very fun, very exciting. When do you depart? When do you leave? Are you going down there earlier this summer?
I don't have to leave until like the middle of August.
Oh, that's good. So you get to enjoy one last summer here in Montana.
Yes.
Well, very good. Last couple of things for you then. Do you have any idea what you want to go to school for then down there at Baylor?
I'm going undecided right now currently. I have not decided yet.
Well, good. You'll have plenty of time to figure it out. Logan Todorovich here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, our senior spotlight, highlighting some of the best individual athletes, both boys and girls, from around the state of Montana. Logan, part of Helena High's 3rd straight Class AA state track and field championship. I'm sure it's only been a couple days, so I'm sure it hasn't fully sunk in yet. But when it does start to sink in, how will you remember all of this? I mean, this has been one of the great runs in Helena High girls sports history, and it's been so cool to watch what you guys have accomplished. So what will you remember most from these last couple years?
I think, honestly, again, just the team atmosphere. It's definitely one of the best teams I've ever been a part of, and I'll definitely miss it. But I think just all the memories that we've had in competition, but also like outside of competition, the bus rides, the dinners, just all that kind of stuff is super fun. So it'll be definitely something to look back on and think about and enjoy. So I've definitely been thankful I've been able to experience it.
Well, very cool. And congratulations again on an outstanding high school career. We'll certainly follow you from abroad down there at Baylor, but best of luck with everything, and thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Logan Todorovich. I would reckon that's one of the great state meets in the history of Montana high school track. No, I'm not kidding. All-class state record in the 100 meters. Smash is one of the most talented short hurdles race fields that the AA meet has seen. Runs the opening leg on the sprint relay team that shatters the all-class state record. Wins the high jump going away. That's like her 5th best event, by the way. Had the best jump in the entire state of Montana there at the AA meet. misses her long jump all-class record by 1.5 inches, but still blows the field out of the water in one of the most talented long jump fields the state's ever seen. And then for good measure, just goes out and gets a bronze medal in the triple jump. Count them all up, 56 points as Helena High wins their third straight Class AA state title. Appreciate Logan Todorovich for helping us launch our senior spotlight, and we'll have more senior spotlights in the coming weeks and months here on Nuanez Now. Time now for our Treasure State Stars. Usually we do this about 4:45 on Tuesdays, but we're going to do 2 Treasure State Stars. First, we're going to do the all-class record setters Treasure State Stars, because there were so many of them from over the weekend. Then we'll do the best of the rest, because there was a whole bunch of other record setters that maybe weren't all-class records, but we had some classification records fall. We also had some great performances in softball and in tennis. And, of course, we had some great performances at the NCAA West Regional meet by a couple Montana athletes as well. So Treasure State Stars proudly presented by Parkside Credit Union. Parkside Credit Union, a great place in Western Montana to get a loan, because Parkside Credit Union loves to say yes. Treasure State Star number 1, Nathan Neal. The amount of pressure that this young man had on him coming into the season was immense, and that pressure was magnified big time when he went to the Arcadia Invitational down in California early on in the spring season, and he ran a 3,200-meter time that, if he would have done it in Montana at the state meet, would have broke the state record by 45 seconds. 45 seconds! That's absurd. That's like 3/4 of a lap. But he was running in an incredibly fast heat. That's why you go to those big-time meets in those big-time venues, to be in a really fast heat that really pushes you. Well, then he comes back to Montana, and everybody's talking about, well, how low can he go? How low can he go? Can he break his former teammate Weston Brown's records? Weston Brown set the all-class records in the 1,600 meters and the 3,200 meters last state track meet. Brown, after graduating from Bozeman High, is now at Princeton. Everybody's talking about, can Neal do it? Can he do it? Well, Neal not only does it, he does it in utterly ridiculous fashion. He runs 4 minutes and 4 seconds in the mile to break Brown's record by 7 full seconds. Then the next day he follows it up with an 8-minute, 53-second 2 mile to break that all-class state record by almost 14 seconds. So I counted it all up, and Nathan Neal's basically about 20 full seconds total clear of Weston Brown. So there was 6 all-class records that fell at the Class AA meet, and Nathan Neal was the only one that had 2 of them. We are efforting Nathan. He will be a part of this Senior Spotlight series at some point if we can track him down. So Nathan, if by somehow lucky chance you're listening, or if you know Nathan, tell him to check his Instagram messages. Sent him a message earlier today, but we'll certainly get him on the show when we can. Treasure State Star number 2, Jack Murray. He is a junior at Bozeman Gallatin, and he's been one of the top throwers in both the shot put and the discus all year long. But Aiden Krause was getting all the headlines in the disc, and a lot of the Bitterroot Valley guys like Wyatt Miles and Andrew Burrows were getting all the headlines in the shot. Murray just kind of chugged along, and then the chugging became an unbelievable mark. 198 feet and 1 inch in the discus. The discus mark has stood since 1980. Dan Tavish of Missoula Hellgate has had that mark for 44 years. And Jack Murray blows it out of the water. The former mark was 193.6. Murray throws 198.1. So Murray rolls past that record and onto the top of the podium. What an unbelievable performance by him. It's so funny watching the video and listening to his interview, because he's like, I knew it was big. I knew it was I popped a big one. Little did he know that it was, a PR by 12 full feet. Unreal. So Krause, is a little bit of a disheartening ending for him. He does win the shot put in convincing fashion. This is a kid that was in the mix for the all-class state record all year long. And you missed the all-class state record, but you still throw in the 180s. You expect to run away with the win. Well, then you don't because of this. So Murray not only gets the all-class state record, but also pulls the upset. I think Krause and Danny Sermon were probably expected to be above Jack Murray, but not so fast. Jack Murray with, honestly, truly the throw of the century. I mean, this is the best throw in the state of Montana in almost half a century, so pretty darn impressive. Tri-State star number 3, Logan Todorovich, we told you all about her. 5 individual gold medals as well as a relay gold medal as well. 2 all-class state records. That's why she's headed to Baylor. Madeline Todorovich, also very impressive. She's a junior. She's about to be the queen of all of this in track and field. She wins the 400 meters. She wins the 300-meter hurdles. She runs legs on both the 4x1 and 4x400 meter teams. She also places 5th in the high jump and places 2nd in the 200 meters. So she scores 40-plus points. And Logan and Madeline Todorovich together, they would have won the AA title. They would have won every track meet in the state of Montana this weekend. 9 individual gold medals, plus contributions on the 2 relay teams for Madeline and the sprint relay for Logan. So pretty darn cool, pretty impressive duo. Tri-State star number 6, Olivia Lewis. She shattered the all-class record in the 300-meter hurdles. She's bound for Montana State. She's a Corvallis senior. She joined us last year when she was very, very good. And now, I mean, at least for now, etched in immortality. We'll hear more about Corvallis in general in hour number 2. Spencer Holes will join us. He is the head coach for the Corvallis Blue Devils on both the boys and girls side. They swept the Class A track titles. The all-class state record entering this meet was 42.87 seconds from Liz Harper of Missoula Sentinel. It's stood since 2013. Lewis runs 41.86. Tri-State Star presented by Parkside Credit Union. Nash Coley, he'll join us tomorrow. He's a Bozeman Gallatin senior. He smashes the all-class state record in the 300-meter hurdles. Broke it by almost a full second. Breaks Jake Larson's record, which has stood since 2000. So Jack Murray and Nash Coley will join us tomorrow. So we'll let them fill in the blanks a little bit more there. Tri-State star number 8. This young man did not get an all-class state record, which is unfortunate because I can't phrase it that I think he deserved it, but his performance was otherworldly. He just happened to have the poor circumstance that the Great Falls wind was blowing at his back. It's always windy in Great Falls. When the wind gauge reads a certain notch, they have to adjust the mark, but it also makes the mark disqualified from counting as a state record. So even if you're running with or into the wind, they'll adjust your time or your distance, and that's your official deal when it comes to that meet. But it can't set a state record. So Klinker goes out and just obliterates the all-class long jump record. He jumps 24 feet and 6 inches. That's a almost full foot beyond the all-class state record. But then they say it's wind-aided, so it gets adjusted. So then his mark is still there in the high 23s. He goes out and breaks the AA record, but then I hear those got adjusted as well. So that's the thing, is like the mark stands and you are the state champion, which Scott Klinker is the state champion in both the long jump and the triple jump. But at least his all-class mark is disqualified for being a record. And I was unsure. I thought that the AA mark stood, but then I actually also heard over the weekend that it had also been disqualified from the state record. It doesn't mean that he doesn't win. He still gets his gold medal. He's still the champion, and he still gets to have that mark. It's just not going to be in the record books, which is just too bad for him. But Klinker then turned around on Thursday and triple jumped 48 feet. So he is as good as we've ever seen in Montana. 24 feet in the long and 48 feet in the triple is just completely rare air. So congratulations to him. Even if he doesn't get the state record, I'm going to think of those jumps for a long time, because it's going to be a long time till we see anybody go over 23 feet, let alone 24 feet. And then our final state record state champion, Ava Kellenberg, Missoula Sentinel, in her final jump of her high school career. She hits the end of the board, and she goes 40 feet, 8 inches, annihilating Lauren Hagen's all-class triple jump mark that stood since 2019. Hagen, of course, also a Missoula Sentinel product who's now at the University of Washington. Kellenberg also going to one of the premier West Coast track and field programs. She's going to UCLA next year. 40 feet, 8 inches, the official mark for Kellenberg, the first young lady ever to go over 40 feet in the history of the state of Montana. Unbelievable what these kids accomplished over the weekend. I know there's plenty of other athletes from other sports to highlight as well, but when you're talking about this many people doing what they did better than anybody ever has before them, and they're breaking records that have stood for 30 and 40 and upwards of 50 years, that's worth its own segment. That's worth its own highlight. Congratulations to all of the all-class state record holders from over the weekend. Nathan Neal, Jack Murray, Logan Todorovich, Olivia Lewis, Nash Coley, and Ava Kellenberg. Many applause. What outstanding performances. You cannot understate how difficult it is to do that, because to break the state record, you have to do it at the state meet. Therefore, you must rise to the occasion. And a lot of these, this is the last, like Logan Todorovich's 100 meters was the last individual race of her high school career. Ava Kellenberg, that triple jump, that's the last jump of her entire high school career. And he shattered the state record. It's storybook, man. It's as good as gold. It's unbelievable. Treasure State Stars, all the rest of the great marks from around the state. We'll do that, highlight some of the other class, not all class, but individual class records, as well as some softball, some tennis, and some college track and field. That's next. Keep it right here. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
We're hyper-focused on our children's safety, repeating messages like buckle your seatbelts and don't talk to strangers. In honor of National Electrical Safety Month, start a new safety conversation with your kids. Never climb trees near power lines. Always assume power lines and electrical wires are energized. Don't play on green transformer boxes in yards or parks. Never fly kites, balloons, or drones near power lines or when it's storming. Missoula Electric Cooperative, your local expert in electrical safety.
Hi, it's Dr. Tim McHugh from the Montana Imaging Center. You asked for it, and now I'm excited to announce that we are offering CT scans in our office. When you need a CT scan, there's no time to waste. We offer same-day and next-day appointments. Our CT scan is half the price and has the quickest turnaround on our reports. Plus, you don't have to deal with hospital parking and the hassle to get it. We have the only non-hospital-owned CT scan in the state. You have a choice when it comes to CT scans. If you need a CT scan, give us a call, and we can easily transfer that order to the Montana Imaging Center. We can make the switch for you. Visit montanaimagingcenter.com for more information.
The King Ranch Golf Course isn't just for golf enthusiasts. You're invited to host your next event at their spacious venue that offers picturesque Clark Fork River scenery, a dining room perfect for showers, birthday parties, reunions, or company parties. Planning a wedding? There's a large outdoor venue space and luxurious Airbnb Stonehouse for accommodations. For more information about leagues, season, or daily fees, or to reserve a beautiful venue, give the King Ranch Golf Course a call, 406-626-4000.
Come hit the links and support your Montana Grizzly hockey team at the 3rd Annual Grizz Hockey Golf Scramble on June 29th at the University of Montana Golf Course. A shotgun start is scheduled for 9 a.m. with a catered lunch to follow play at 2. The cost is only $350 per foursome, which includes greens fees, a cart, beverages, lunch, along with Grizz Hockey swag. Visit grizzhockey.com today to register your foursome. It's the 3rd Annual Grizz Hockey Golf Scramble, June 29th at the University Golf Course. Coulter's got beef.
Montana and Montana State are incredibly difficult to analyze during these spring football games. First of all, we've decided to put these things on television, which is great access, but it also just adds to coaching paranoia where everybody thinks that everybody's watching SWX all around the country. They're going to steal all their secrets and their signals, all their special, super duper, crazy, creative, one-of-a-kind plays. I'm joking. The paranoia is just overdone to me.
Nuanez Now, every weekday at 4 p.m. on ESPN Radio Missoula.
Let's cover our city with art. The City of Missoula Public Art Committee invites artists residing in Missoula County to apply for a public art project to create art on traffic signal boxes located throughout Missoula. The goal of the project is to use local traffic signal boxes as canvases to enhance Missoula's visual surroundings. The boxes to be painted are Highway 10 West and Mary Jane Boulevard and Palmer Street and West Broadway. The deadline for applications is Friday, June 14th. Find the application online now at publicartmissoula.org.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I could have sworn I was stringing myself along, but now I know I got so much more than we bargained for. We all pick our poison, it's best left unspoken. Not the only one.
Welcome back. Nuanez now, ESPN Radio. Most days SWX Montana Television, but not today. We are rolling on the ESPN MT app, however. An elongated version of Treasure State Stars because there's so many great individual athletes to highlight. Treasure State Stars, proudly presented by Parkside Credit Union. Treasure State Stars, Parkside Credit Union, proud to present Treasure State Stars. Great place in Western Montana to get a loan because Parkside Credit Union loves to say yes. Let's look at some of the outstanding individual marks from the, because here's the deal. We had 7 all-class state records fall at track and field. 6 of them came at the AA meet. There was also a whole bunch of other outstanding marks, though, that broke classification records. Not all class records, but that specific classification, including Caitlin Noyes of Townsend. That's Broadwater County High School, for those keeping track. She broke the Class B record in the long jump, 18 feet, 4 3/4 inches. Pretty darn impressive for her. She's only a sophomore. Bryn Wandel, she also did some good work. She pole vaulted 12'3" to break the Class C record as well. I forgot to put down where Bryn went to high school, so I'll look that up for you in just one quick minute. Cascade horizontal jumper, Caden Sakurtstick, he hit the long jump record, 23 feet and change. So lots of Class C marks fell, including Taylor Chirick, She already owns 3 Class C records, and she fell short of her record from last year in the 800 meters, but she lowered her record in the 400 meters, and she's still the record holder in the 300 hurdles as well. She is a Roberts senior who's bound for Montana State in basketball. It's crazy because she's a really good basketball player. I mean, she had multiple 50-plus point games, but man, I mean, she could be the she could be a great track athlete as well. I think that the days of multiple sport college athletes are done. Maybe you might see somebody that does football and then spring track, but it's just like way too much crossover, way too much wear and tear. Like basketball season now for college starts in October. Individual workouts start in September. So if you're doing indoor track or cross country or whatever, you would not be able to do it until the spring, and you just wouldn't have the proper training to keep up. But if there's anybody that could do it, it would be Taylor Chirick. A couple others worth noting. Chirick, by the way, she won 4 individual state titles over the weekend to help Roberts share the Class C girls title. She won it in the 400, the 800, the 100-meter hurdles, and the 300-meter hurdles. She also took 3rd place in the triple jump, so lots of points for Taylor Chirick as well. She'll certainly be featured on our Senior Spotlight Series upcoming. So those were some of the best of the non-all-class records in the wide world of track and field. Let's talk about some of the other outstanding sports. Treasure State Stars, presented by Parkside Credit Union. Montana State sending 3 young men to nationals after Rob McManus, Levi Taylor, and Owen Smith all placed in the top 12 to qualify in the 3,000-meter steeplechase. They call it Steeplechase U for a reason, and all 3 of those guys advancing on to Eugene, Oregon. So very impressive. Only 4 guys with Montana ties advancing. No females, which I thought was a little bit surprising. There are several girls from the Big Sky ranks, but none from Montana or Montana State. But there's the 3 steeplechasers plus Evan Todd. He's a Kalispell Glacier product, the Big Sky Conference champion in the javelin, and he was struggling in the jav at the regional meet until his last throw. His last throw vaults him all the way up to 9th place and books his ticket to nationals. So he's going out with a bang in his final season with the Grizz as well. Taylor, by the way, Levi Taylor's from Laurel. Owen Smith is from Billings. And as I mentioned, Todd is from Kalispell. So 3 of the 4 guys that are from the Montana schools going to nationals, they're also from Montana. So pretty impressive. How about some high school tennis? A couple more Treasure State stars from that realm. Hillgate sophomore Elliot Banzinger, she won her second consecutive state title. She's been unbeaten all through her high school career so far. So she's basically 2 for 2. 2 perfect seasons in 2 years of high school. So she's off to a record-setting start. Her older sister, Lane Banzinger, and Brooke Best, they paired to win their second straight doubles title at the AA level. And then Bozeman Gallatin sophomore Mason McCarty, he also had his second straight perfect season. So you got 2 sophomores, Elliot Banzinger and Mason McCarty, who are perfect in their high school careers so far. Pretty darn impressive. And multiple back-to-back champions so far there as well. Brooke Reuter of Savage, she helped the Heat get to the share of the Class C girls title. She had another great meet. She four-peated as the 100-meter champion, and she lowered her Class C 100-meter record again to 12.34 seconds. She also won the 200 meters in 25.50. She's the Class C record holder in that event as well. And she also took second in the 400 meters. So pretty darn impressive. One of the great sprinters in Montana happens to reside in Savage, Montana. And then when it comes to the softball realm, we mentioned the sort of heart-wrenching story of the Manhattan girls. The young lady who died in a car accident in the fall. They dedicated this season to her. Emma Cabellin was the catalyst, or one of the catalysts at least, as she threw 236 pitches on Saturday as Manhattan battled some more on their way to the Class BC state softball title. Delaney Doherty, the young lady, by the way, who they were playing in remembrance of. At the Class A tournament, Maddie Moultrie had an unbelievable weekend as well. She threw a complete game, gave up just 4 hits, struck out 7 as Columbia Falls beat Billings Central, but it was her 3-run home run that helped lift the Sioux Falls offense. So she supported herself a little bit there as well. So that helped Columbia Falls repeat as state champions. And then our final Treasure State star from the weekend, how about Anna Cockhill? You got to go find this video online. I'm sure it's on 406mtsports.com. Also available on Daniel Shepard of the Helena Independent Records Twitter feed. Bottom of the 8th, Helena Capital, Kalispell Glacier battling it out. They are, they've been the top 2 teams out west all year long. Glacier's the defending champs, but Capital had been sort of the upstart that had been red hot down the stretch. Capital had given Big Sky one of their only regular season losses. They'd also beaten Glacier earlier in the year, but they're going back and forth. This was an outing that was actually moved a day because the entire softball tournament got delayed. And then Anna Cockhill, who's the best player for Capital, she's up to bat, and she hits an inside-the-park home run. She slides headfirst into home and then jumps like 30 feet in the air. The celebration is unbelievable. She looks like she's on a spring when she springs up from home plate in just pure and utter ecstasy. Her whole team mobs her. It's just such a great video. You got to go watch it. It'll make you happy, I promise. And that's what high school sports are all about, man. That's what sports are all about. But just the pure joy that these kids get to experience. And, you know, it's a moment they'll never forget. Anna Cockhill's coming to Montana to play softball, for the Grizz. She has plenty of softball left in front of her. She might have some great memories coming up in her life as well. That's one she'll absolutely never forget, though, and it's certainly a video worth watching. So if you can find it, please do. I promise you, it'll make your day. Treasure State Stars presented by Parkside Credit Union, a great place in western Montana to get a loan because Parkside Credit Union loves to say yes. Hour 1 of the books, Hour 2 coming at you. We'll talk NBA, including the passing of an all-time great. We'll also hear from Spencer Hulls, the head coach of Corvallis Track and Field. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
Join Greater Good Health and the American Red Cross for a community blood drive on May 29th from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Greater Good Health's primary care clinic in the Northgate Plaza on North Reserve. Your donation can help save lives. To register, visit redcrossblood.com and use code GreaterGoodHealthMT. Your blood donation ensures local hospitals have the supply they need, and it all comes from generous volunteers like you. Mark your calendars for May 29th and join us in making a greater good. Thanks for giving back, Missoula.
You hear the term small business all the time, but what does it mean? The answer is, it depends. Whether you're a one-woman show or employ over 100 people, at Farmer State Bank, your business is never small to us. Find the tools for success at any Farmer State Bank location or check us out online at farmersebank.com. Farmer State Bank, helping businesses succeed since 1907. Member FDIC.
This is David Odell with the Missoula Symphony inviting you to Speakeasy Symphony, Friday, June 7th at the Doubletree Inn. This swanky event is sure to be a memorable one with dinner, dancing, a unique limited live auction, plus live jazz music. Speakeasy attire is encouraged for this themed event. Please join in the celebration. Speakeasy Symphony, Friday, June 7th at the Doubletree Inn.
Brought to you by season sponsor, The Good Food Store.
Hey Missoula, ready to dive into some sizzling deals? This weekend only, Mountain Hot Tub is hosting a spectacular pop-up sale at the Ravalli County Fairgrounds. Don't miss out on their lowest prices of the year. Check out unique one-of-a-kind spas, 2023 demo models, and a wide selection of refurbished hot tubs with prices starting at just $19.95. These deals won't last long. Hurry in to meet the Mountain Hot Tub team and find the spa of your dreams. Sale starts Thursday, May 23rd at 10 a.m. Mountain Hot Tub at the Ravalli County Fairgrounds. They can't wait to see you there.
I call myself a confident backseat driver. Mom, brakes, please.
Gotcha.
But I'm less confident in the economy.
Same here, buddy.
Thankfully, Les Schwab Tires helps make sure that our safety never takes a backseat, even when we're watching our wallets.
Roll into summer. Save up to $200 instantly on a wide selection of tires and wheels. Les Schwab Tires. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. Details at leschwab.com/sale.
If you like a local establishment where you feel at home, whether it's your first visit or your 15th, then Red's Bar is your bar. With attending staff that's happy to pour you a drink and carry on a conversation, you can come to Red's with friends or just make them while you're there. Of course, Red's is going to have every MLB, NBA, NHL, and PGA event, game, and series all season long. Whatever sport you're into is on at Red's right now. Stop in and find out what the locals already know. Red's Bar, downtown at 217 Ryman, a Missoula institution.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Records fell in bunches at the high school state track and field championships across Montana over the weekend. Happy Memorial Day. I'm Colter Nuanez. At the Class AA meet in Great Falls, the athletes had an all-out assault on the record books as 6 all-class records fell, including the longest-standing record in Montana. Bozeman Gallatin's Jack Murray had the throw of a lifetime, setting a personal best by more than 11 feet and shattering a record that had stood since 1982 when he heaved the discus 198 feet 1 inch to shatter the state record by 5 feet. Murray's toss plus Nash Coley's record-breaking effort in the 300-meter hurdles helped the Raptors claim their second straight Class AA title. Coley ran 36.91 seconds in the long hurdles to break a record that stood since 2000. The Todorovich sisters of Helena High helped the Bengals earn a three-peat. Logan Todorovich, a senior who's bound for Baylor next season, set the all-class state record in the 100 meters while also piling up titles in the 100 hurdles, the long jump, the high jump, and running a leg on the state record-setting sprint relay team. Madeline Todorovich, a junior, won the 400 meters and the 300 hurdles while also running legs on both relays. And finally, Nathan Neal capped his stellar Bozeman High career by setting an all-class state record for the second straight day. Less than 24 hours after shattering the mile record, he ran 8 minutes 53 seconds to obliterate the 2-mile record. For more on all of the state championships from over the weekend, tune in to Nuanez Now between 4 and 6 each day this week.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Selway Armory. This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
It was a crazy thought, a madman's walk it was. It was a moonless night. It was an empty sky. It was a bad excuse. I was the only fool inside.
This album, Kenny Wayne Shepherd's second album, was released in 1999, so that's 25 years ago for those of you that aren't good at the math. And last week, fell off of the Billboard Top 200 Blues Albums chart for the first time. Longest run for a blues album on the Billboard Blues charts in the history of blues music. Pretty impressive. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. No SWX today, though, because the NAIA College World Series ongoing. So we'll check in with them and let you know when we're back up on the television machine. If you missed anything in the show, you can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is proudly presented by the M Store, where their all is all the time. The MSU Bookstore. You can shop online at msubookstore.org. And Schulte Law Firm. Had a bad day, been in an accident that wasn't your fault? Visit jschultelaw.com. Last week had a fun week with Tommy Evans. One day we came up with all the sports that Tommy thinks could overtake the NFL as the biggest money makers in the wide world of, I was going to say pro sports, but just any sport. He was fascinated by the notion that he read an article that said that the average NFL fan spends between $1,300 and $1,600 a year to watch the NFL, whether that's between their Amazon subscription, their NFL Sunday ticket, going to the local watering hole to watch your game when maybe you can't find it on the television. He was bringing this up as if that was an utterly stunning and shocking number. My response was, I'm unsurprised, and also if you tell me I need to pay $100 a week to watch the NFL, I'm probably going to pony up. So that was our week last week. Tommy was sitting behind the glass because Andrew Houghton was on the other side of the world. He was actually on the other side of the country, back home in D.C. Andrew, welcome back. How you doing? How was your trip?
It was wonderful. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Got to see the fam. Got to do some stuff. You got to see a baseball game. I saw. You also maybe got to soccer. Was that on the docket as well?
Yeah, I did the Friday Saturday doubleheader
nice.
With the Washington Spirit, actually the NWSL team.
Cool.
Which was incredible on Friday, and then a minor league baseball game on Saturday.
Very good. Well, I'm glad you got to get some R&R in, some family time, some sporting time. While you were away, it's funny to me the way that this is being spun, because some people, and I guess part of this is just living in 2024. Part of this is the overreaction that is conveyed so sharply on social media, especially Twitter, when you only have 280 characters. It is sometimes the overreaction is almost inevitable. But I have just found it a little bit entertaining, the sort of the narrative, at least from some corners of the sporting universe, around this gigantic, I guess, 3-part settlement by the NCAA. The NCAA decided to settle 3 different lawsuits that it had ongoing. So this is all stemming from basically the schools' rights to pay players, and there was all sorts of nuance to this. If you want to hear a great conversation about how this affects the Big Sky Conference, go check out the Nuanez Now podcast episode from last week. That would have been from last Tuesday, May 21st. Tom Wistershall, the commissioner of the Big Sky Conference, led this show to this was before the settlements had been agreed upon, but he led this show talking about what it all meant for the Big Sky Conference. It doesn't mean much for the Big Sky at this exact moment, only because the Big Sky is not going to have any schools that are willing to step up and have $20 to $25 million payrolls for student athletes right now. That's just not going to happen. It's not in the budget. That's not a part of the revenue stream. But the most concerning part for the Big Sky was basically the top 5 conferences, the Autonomy 5 is what the lawsuit called them. They were trying to say that the expenses were going to, the majority, be paid by the non-top 5. So basically there's 32 Division I conferences. The A5 was trying to make the other 27 pay the bill, basically. About 60 to 65% of the bill was going to get passed to the non-revenue conferences, and then about 35 to 40% of the bill was going to get paid for by the people that are actually, that making the money and needing to pay the money. All that said, I've just seen a lot of hilarious takes, even from people that are, prominent and should be level-headed people in the national media, that, oh my gosh, what have we done? This is the end of college sports as we know it. And I guess my thought here is that nothing that really came out in this lawsuit is anything new other than the fact that now the schools can earmark the dollars. And make no mistake, as crazy as $20 million a year sounds for student-athlete payroll, that's actually nothing. Because the top programs, the Alabama footballs, the Duke basketballs, by the time the dust all the way settles on this, they're going to be paying their players 2 or 3 times that much money. Because now they're going to be able to earmark some guaranteed salary, or whatever you want to call it, guaranteed payment from the institution and the athletic department. But then you can also give them massive NIL deals as well. So there's going to be a whole bunch to this. We don't spend too much time on this, Andrew, because Matt Brown, the Extra Point newsletter, it's going to be our ESPN Roundtable tomorrow, and he can certainly articulate a lot of this stuff pretty darn impressively. So he'll certainly come with some good information here tomorrow. But I guess I'm not really asking you what you think of the settlement, because I think we're kind of both on the same page. It's just sort of the cumulative buildup to what has been coming. And other than the percentage of the bill that's going to be footed to the Big Sky Conference, I think it's largely irrelevant to the majority of our audience. That said, I guess my question is, what do you think of just sort of the, for lack of a better word, hysteria around these decisions? There's a lot of people that are saying, oh my gosh, amateur athletics are dead. I'm cynical as they come. My whole thought is the amateur athletics have been dead for a long time. This is just pulling the veil back and making people actually have to tangibly acknowledge it.
Well, I think the people who thought that the NCAA was going to be able to stop the bleeding on this at some point along the trail that we've been going down over the last several years,
right?
We're just extremely naive.
Yeah, they're just wrong. Yeah, that's right.
I think maybe the NCAA thought this as well, or at least they were projecting this to the world because that was what was best for them. But I think some people were sort of assuming that, hey, okay, well, they're going to be forced to let athletes, make money off their name, image, and likeness. We're going to see a loosening of transfer rules, but we're not going to get all the way to a free market. We're not going to get all the way to these athletes are suddenly employees of the university. And I just thought that the NCAA never really had a leg to stand on in this entire, path that we've been going down. And I just thought that people who thought that once we get started here and you start exposing what really was the hypocrisy of the NCAA for years and years and years, it was never going to stop, particularly once it got to the courts, because judges who have sort of no investment, no background with the history of college sports, and are looking at this like a business, are not going to pay any mind to the arguments that the NCAA was putting out there.
Totally agree. My other thought would be there's this get off my lawn. What are we doing? We're ruining the sanctity and the holiness of college athletics. Let me tell you something. Eric Dickerson was getting free Trans Ams back in the 70s. You think O.J. Simpson was getting recruited fairly? I mean, you go on down the line. It's just now that you have to see it and you have to be okay with it because now it's not illegal. But it's not that it wasn't going on for years and years and years and years. And that's the juxtaposition here is college athletics has been all about money since the 1970s, since the rise of television and the NCAA tournament being on TV and, every corner of that you can possibly think of, ticket sales, all that stuff. But it was all about money that only went into the pockets of administrators and coaches, never players. So somehow that made the sport, like, we love myth making in America, right? Somehow we were able to create this myth that college sports, especially college football, was for something greater than the almighty dollar. There's a part of that, and if you want to believe that, great. Good for you. I'm happy for you. But it has been what it is for decades and decades. You just have to see it full force now. Nobody's hiding behind the curtain anymore.
No, that's right. And that's, again, it was such in the interest of the NCAA and the universities to sort of present it as this moral question. They were doing this great bit of sleight of hand that worked for 100 years in college sports to present it as this moral question of whether the athletes should be paid or not, while completely hiding the question and the fact, I guess the fact first, that somebody was getting paid off of all of this.
Right.
And the question that follows from that, obviously, is who should it be? And that's another moral question, and they managed to have that question not be asked for a century, because when you approach that question morally, it becomes obvious that it is the athletes
right.
and not what it was for 100 years, which the answer was the university presidents
right.
and the football coaches.
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera. So, I think that in a certain moral sense, this is very good for college athletics, and that's sort of been my stance on it since the question of NIL came up in the first place. I also think that sort of more from a real-world sense, we're going to start seeing a break. We're going to start seeing schisms in the structure of the game.
Because now it's either or, right? You either can pay the earmark is, I think, $20 million and change. So let's round it up to $21 million. Right out the gates, you will either be able to pay that easily or you will not. And that's it. That's going to be the first divide.
Right. And if you can't pay it, does that mean you should stop playing college football? I don't think that's the case.
No, you should just stop playing college football with those
against the other schools that are doing it.
Right, exactly.
So I think we'll see that. I think we'll see that happen pretty quickly following on from this. Now
it's going to make college football better, because right now, like let's be honest about this. Over the last 25 years, what has Oregon State been playing for? Oregon State is a good football program. Oregon State, the last couple of years under Jonathan Smith, has been very good. What's their peak? Like 8 wins in the Alamo Bowl? Like maybe you win the Civil War every once in a while? You probably don't, because you're not going to catch Oregon, but you do every once in a while, right? Like you have the high water mark with Derek Anderson and Dwan Edwards, and when our good buddy Dennis Erickson was the coach. Okay. There is, and this is the thing that is so hard for especially fervent fans to accept. There is literally no world in which Oregon State was ever going to win the national championship over the last 25 years. Maybe 50 years before that, before regional recruiting existed, and you could get, maybe you had a diamond in the rough come up through the ranks in Portland or Seattle, and he chooses to be a Beav. But there's no world in which Oregon State can compete with Michigan. It's dumb to try to compete with Michigan. Same thing with Washington State. There's multiple other schools you can name here. This is going to make it so that now we don't have this facade of Kansas State trying to compete with Alabama. It ain't happening. It's never going to happen. It cannot happen because of the structure and the institution of what college football has become. So then, okay, you have all these big boys over here. This is how much money you have to – it's like playing poker, right? You have to have this much money to buy in with the big boys table. I can't go buy in the big boys table. I can't go play in the World Series of Poker. I don't got the cash. I don't want to either, though. I want to play my little $50 game with my buddies, right? Same thing. Now you don't – there's been so many teams, so many schools that have been trying to keep up with the Joneses. It's completely futile. I think the way this is going to fracture is you're going to have all these big guys over here, and here's what's going to happen. You're going to have like 30 to 40 schools that are able to come up with all the money you need to be in this new top tier of college football. And then they are going to say they're not going to play anybody but each other. And then that's going to last for about 3 years because
it's not feasible.
Because they'll all be so pissed off because now all of a sudden Michigan ain't going 13-0 anymore. They'll go 10-3 or 9-4 or whatever, but then the coaches start to complain. Now you can't just schedule Chattanooga or the Citadel the week before the SEC championship game for Alabama, or the week before the Iron Bowl for Alabama, to make sure you have a nice little warm up in there.
And also people are going to get tired of it. 3-4 years into, if you take the top 36 teams and you make 3 12-team conferences and they're all just playing each other for 4 or 5 years without any of the attendant geographic ties that made the conferences work 10 years ago.
Exactly.
We think it's great. It's like the kid who keeps asking for ice cream, right? We think it's great when you turn into an adult and you can just eat ice cream whenever you want, because now you can have Michigan, Alabama playing every year if they're good enough, right? You can have, now with the Big Ten, you can have Michigan playing Washington every year.
Right.
You're going to get tired of seeing those matchups over and over, because so much of college football is, I still stand by this, it is the regionality. It is playing the teams that are close to you that you have learned to hate in a lot of cases over the last 100 years, because they got their start playing when they were the only 2 colleges in the state.
So true. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. We must move on to a positive yet somber note. And I want this to be positive because I think by all accounts, Bill Walton is one of the most authentic and joyous and approachable characters we've had over the last, let's call it 50 to 60 years in the wide world of sports. The best way I could sum up Bill Walton, and I never met the man, but here's the thing. I always had the illusion that I would. Or not even the illusion. That seemed totally realistic. Will I ever meet Michael Jordan? No. If I had the chance to, would I even be able to muster words? Probably not. But if Bill Walton was standing right over there, by the way, if you missed the news, Bill Walton passed away yesterday, so unfortunately Bill Walton's not standing right over there. But if Bill Walton was standing right over there, I would absolutely go talk to him. And guess what? He would talk to me, because he would talk to anybody, because he was every man. He's the happiest man alive. That was the name of his documentary. And it's not as if he has some Pollyanna, view of the world. The man went through as many trials and tribulations in terms of his health as any athlete of the modern era. I mean, Bill Walton was, I think, inarguably one of the great high school players to ever come out of the state of California. And then, because California has produced so many great players, that makes him one of the great high school basketball players in America. He had, who had a definitively better college career than Bill Walton? Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or Bill Russell, and that's Pete Maravich? That's probably it. Other than that, Bill Walton is one of the top 4. He's on Mount Rushmore of college basketball players. Then he completely transcends the NBA. And Bill Walton, for all of his great personality traits and how educated and thoughtful he was, and how hilarious and zany and sort of off the beaten path he was as a commentator during the second half of his life, he has been and always will be, when it comes to just his basketball playing ability, he will be my example of transcendence. We argue so often about legacy. We argue so often about how longevity is a huge part of players' legacies. And I totally agree with that. I've stood on the table for LeBron James a bunch. I think that his longevity, his consistency, his high level of play for so long, it's an enormous part of his legend. It's the same thing with Tom Brady. But there's also, I think, a conversation to be had when someone doesn't have longevity, but comparing the version of them that is their best to everybody else. At one moment in time, Bill Walton was the best center in the NBA. And he was in the NBA at the exact same time as guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Moses Malone. And I guess he was not at his peak when Hakeem Olajuwon came in the NBA. But Bill Walton, his first couple years with the Portland Trailblazers before he broke his foot, which derailed him for the rest of his career, he was as good of a player as the NBA has ever seen. If at any moment, think about it like this. Patrick Ewing had a great long career with the New York Knicks. He's a Hall of Fame basketball player. Not for one moment was Patrick Ewing ever the best player in the NBA. Not for one moment. He was one of the best players. He was a top 15 guy for sure and a top 10 guy a lot of times. Not for 1 second was he the best player in the NBA. Tim Duncan? Was Tim Duncan ever the single best player in the NBA at any time in his career? He was one of the top 5. He's an all-NBA guy 10 times over. But I'm not sure he was ever the best player in the world at any time. Bill Walton was the best player in the world for 2 years. That's an amazing thing to consider. And I think it goes into his legacy. I mean, it's why the guy is a first ballot Hall of Famer, despite, only having like 6 actually relevant good years. But to go through what the NBA went through with just the marginal at best interest, all of the different things that stemmed from player conduct, the drugs that were being used in the league, the lack of marketability, or I guess the perception of the lack of marketability for the league, all these different things. The league was in a horrible spot. And then they had the merger in the mid-'70s, and it didn't make it much better. But then to have an expansion team in Portland, and then to have and at that exact moment in time, Portland, here in Missoula, Montana, we know all about Portland, Oregon. And Portland, Oregon is like a hub. It's one of the big metro areas in this part of the world. Portland, Oregon is still one of the smallest markets in all of pro sports. They only have just the Trailblazers. They do not have an NFL team. They do not have an NHL team. They do not have a baseball team. It's a tiny market. Back in the 70s, it was even tiny. Nobody even knew what Portland, Oregon was. They barely knew what Seattle was at this moment in time. So for the Blazers to sort of come out of nowhere, and the way that they galvanized that city, like, for example, when the Blazers won the NBA Finals in 1977 against the Philadelphia 76ers, this statistic is from David Halberstam's peerless book, Breaks of the Game. 94% of the television sets in Portland, Oregon watched the game in which the Blazers won. 94%. Think of that. We live in a football-crazed town. Grizz playing the national championship. What percentage of television sets do you think watched the national championship game? Bet you it's pretty high. Bet you it's not even close to 94%. I bet you it's not even a third of the way to 94%. That's how impactful Bill Walton and the Trailblazers were at that moment in time. Then you fast forward to everything that Bill Walton was all about in the second half of his career. I mean, Mike Breen told this wonderful story about Bill Walton setting up this tour for Mike Breen's father. Bill Walton infamously played for the San Diego Clippers before they moved to L.A. That was a disaster, but he got to know a lot of the naval people. Mike Breen's father had been in the Navy. Mike Breen, the famous play-by-play announcer for the NBA, said that Bill Walton set up this whole tour with his father, walked him all around this battleship, and treated him just like he was his best friend, even though he had only met the man, days before. Larry Bird told a hilarious story last night about how after they won the 1986 championship with the Boston Celtics, which Bill Walton was like the sixth man, he played like 17 minutes a game on that team. But talking about, a pretty tremendous sixth man. He's one of the great passing big men of all time. Fully cool with coming off the bench. And, then your front court's Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale in the starting lineup, and Bill Walton coming off the bench. That's why a lot of people think the 86 Celtics are the greatest team in NBA history. But Walton shows up at Larry Bird's house after they had won the championship. And Larry said, Bill, I can't celebrate tonight. I'm too tired. Let's tear it up later on in the week. Next weekend, whatever, we'll get together. And Larry said, Bill Walton says to Larry Bird, I don't even need you, man. And he sits down at his table with a bottle of whiskey. He said, I just want to be here with you tomorrow morning when you wake up. And there Bill Walton was sitting at the kitchen table when Larry Bird wakes up. I mean, it's just stories like that, just story after story after story that makes me think that, again, Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain, and these guys are the most deified of the NBA's, sort of hierarchy of stars. You can't find anybody that hated Bill Walton. There's no polarization about him. You can find people out there even that don't like Magic Johnson or Larry Bird or Michael Jordan or whatever. You can't find anybody that doesn't like Bill Walton or doesn't have a great Bill Walton story or wasn't entertained by the way Bill Walton was, just the character that he was and the way that he carried himself. So Bill Walton died at the age of 71. I think we're sort of conditioned at this moment in time to think gone far too young. But I look at it like this. Like, this guy lived 71 unbelievably vibrant years. Who had a better life than Bill Walton? And certainly we wish it would have kept going. But a life well lived times a million, man. To be that level of oneself, to be that confident in being yourself, something that we should all aspire to be. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. More on the track and field world. Spencer Hulls, he's the head coach of the Corvallis boys and girls. They swept the Class A championships this last weekend in Laurel for the second year in a row. He'll join us live next. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Do you or your aspiring student need a convenient, affordable place to live while attending the University of Montana? Look no farther than Rome Student Housing. Located on Front Street, just a 10-minute walk from the UM campus and from downtown Missoula, Rome offers a variety of living options for UM students. High-speed Wi-Fi and a TV package with more than 100 channels, including the NFL Network, comes with your unit, and each unit has a full-size washer and dryer, plus its own full bathroom. Rome offers pet-friendly apartments, too. For more information, visit liveatrome.com. What's better than Tag on the go? How about twice as much Tag? Tagliari Deli has been recognized as the best sandwiches in Montana by numerous publications, and now you can order online from 2 different Tagliari locations. Tagliari Deli in the Sawmill District is open and ready to make you the same delicious sandwiches you've come to expect. Order online to pick up at Tag's 2 locations, including its new location at 910 Wyoming Street in the Sawmill District. When you stop in, be sure to check out the Old World wine selection and other Italian delicacies. Tagliari Deli, now open in 2 locations in Missoula.
Get ready, Montana. Place bets on your favorite teams and games, both collegiate and professional, with Sportsbet Montana. With over 500 locations statewide, it's never been easier to get in on the action. Choose from spreads, money lines, parlays, and more. Excitement? You bet. Action? You bet. Winning? You bet. Visit sportsbetmontana.com or download the app now. Sportsbet Montana, Montana's exclusive sportsbook.
Do you get your car washed more than once a month? Of course you do, because you treat your car like it deserves to be treated. If you love having a clean car, you need an unlimited car wash package from Dazzlers. For $37 a month, you can get the most deluxe, thorough, efficient car wash anywhere in the city of Missoula. Basically, after your second car wash of the month, the rest are free. Treat your car like it deserves to be treated and save money while doing it at Dazzlers Car Wash of Missoula. Dazzlers Car Wash located on Radio Way off of North Reserve in the Garden City.
Are you ready for the future of EV or already own an electric vehicle, battery running low, or have a long drive coming? Liberty Electric is here to help you out. Whether you recently purchased a new electric vehicle or are looking to upgrade to an EV, the professionals at Liberty Electric are ready to wire your home or business charging station. Don't get caught stranded without a charge. Call 406-541-WIRE. That's 406-541-9473.
Andrew Houghton on Nuanez Now.
What makes it so puzzling to me is that the Big Sky is not even sending guys to the NFL commensurate with their standing in the FCS. The Big Sky is pretty clearly the second best conference in the FCS, and they're right up there with the Missouri Valley. And the Big Sky is better than the CAA, better than the SoCon. Well, both those conferences sent more guys to the NFL than the Big Sky did. That does not match up to our conception of these programs actually on the field, and that's what's so puzzling to me.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Records fell in bunches at the high school state track and field championships across Montana over the weekend. Happy Memorial Day. I'm Colter Nuanez. At the Class AA meet in Great Falls, the athletes had an all-out assault on the record books as 6 all-class records fell, including the longest-standing record in Montana. Rose McGalliton's Jack Murray had the throw of a lifetime, setting a personal best by more than 11 feet and shattering a record that had stood since 1982 when he heaved the discus 198 feet 1 inch to shatter the state record by 5 feet. Murray's toss plus Nash Coley's record-breaking effort in the 300-meter hurdles helped the Raptors claim their second straight Class AA title. Coley ran 36.91 seconds in the long hurdles to break a record that stood since 2000. The Todorovich sisters of Helena High helped the Bengals earn a three-peat. Logan Todorovich, a senior who's bound for Baylor next season, set the all-class state record in the 100 meters while also piling up titles in the 100 hurdles, the long jump, the high jump, and running a leg on the state record-setting sprint relay team. Madeline Todorovich, a junior, won the 400 meters and the 300 hurdles while also running legs on both relays. And finally, Nathan Neal capped his stellar Bozeman High career by setting an all-class state record for the second straight day. Less than 24 hours after shattering the mile record, he ran 8 minutes 53 seconds to obliterate the 2-mile record. For more on all of the state championships from over the weekend, tune in to Nuanez Now between 4 and 6 each day this week.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Selway Armory.
1, 2, 3.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Go on and dig deep. Show me everything that you need. How you gonna save yourself when I put my loving bag on that shelf? Go on and bring it back on me.
Welcome back. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Appreciate you for tuning in. Hope you're having a great start to your week. We were off yesterday, so this is kind of the beginning of the week. Hope it's the beginning of the week for you as well. Hope you had a great weekend. Outstanding weekend across the world of high school sports, including at the Class A and B track meets in Laurel. Time now for a bit of a breakdown presented by Farmers State Bank. Farmers State Bank has been enriching the lives of Montanans since 1907, and we're joined now by the head coach of the state champions of Class A on both the boys and the girls side. Spencer Hulse joins us, the head coach of the Corvallis Blue Devils track and field program. Coach, thanks so much for joining us, man. How you doing?
Doing great, Calder. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you because that usually means something good happened for me.
That's exactly right. It usually means Corvallis has done something great again, and what a great performance on both sides. Just take us through it, because last year, this was such a thrilling way that you guys took home the state titles on both the boys and the girls side. A long weather delay leading into the mile relay, and then both your teams come out on top to sort of have these come-from-behind victories for both the team titles. This year, a little bit more dominant on the girls' side, a tight race on the boys' side as well, though. So just take us through what made this one different, and what's it feel like to go back-to-back?
Oh, well, I think that's a great question, because last year was so much joy and just like explosion of emotion after the races were done, because it came down right down to the nitty-gritty, and last race did what we had to do, and especially after that weather delay, and we had all that pent-up emotion, like, are we going to do it? Are we going to not do it? You know, my poor mile relays last year were sitting on the bus, and every single kid was saying to him, do you know what you have to do to win the state title? And eventually they had to leave. They had to get out of there.
Right.
It was too much for them. So, but this year, a little different on actually both sides. I know it was 1.8, but we luckily had it sewn up before that mile relay. We had 11.8 point lead going into the mile relay on the boys' side. So we didn't need to score, and Columbia Falls did their job and won the whole thing and brought it within 1.8. But we were sitting pretty going into that mile relay. Thanks in part, our discus thrower really came up big, and everybody came up big. Isaac Stoker clinched it for us. But how many times was that championship clinched? You know, throughout Friday and Saturday. You know, whoever did what they had to do and what they could do and what was better. Our mantra was prepare, compete, do what you can do. And pretty much everybody, even the kids that didn't score, you know, did what they could do. Had PRs or season records or right at it to do what they could do. So it was great. The emotion after this one was a little bit more like relief. We were kind of the favorites. We knew we were kind of the favorites going in. We were people were gunning for us, and so that's a little different feeling than from last year when we were trying to catch up. And so a lot of pressure, these kids did great bearing it. But it was a long season with a lot of pressure on them, and once they got done with it, lots of smiles, but not as much energy as last year, just because it was take a deep breath and say, thank God we did it, and so we were happy.
Well, certainly it's the old Pat Riley line, right? The only thing harder than winning a championship is winning a second straight championship. So, and you guys did it on both sides. So, I mean, that's a real dynamic, though, right? I mean, when you are the defending champs and you have so many your headlining athletes back on both sides, it really is. I mean, people are gunning for you all year long. So, what do you think of just the kids' ability to sort of endure that and then rise to the occasion, especially when it matters the most at the state meet?
Yeah, I think they're just warriors. They enjoy the grind, and that's something that not a lot of people do. We get in the middle of the season, I call it every year the mid-season grind, where everything's hard, and we don't necessarily get a lot of PRs in that time. We're training harder than we do at the beginning and at the end of the season, and just it's a grind. It's not all that much fun, but it's so necessary, and these guys just embrace that. They embraced it the whole time, and it's kind of a metaphor for the whole season. The whole season was a grind when you're picked to do to be the favorites, and people are coming after you all week, or all year actually, and then the meets sometimes go your way and sometimes don't, and then you get nervous and say, are we actually as good as we think we are, or are these teams better, or whatever else? And you just got to keep plugging, keep moving forward, and these kids did a great job buying into the idea that if you keep grinding, it's going to come out your way. And they just ground all weekend. We just keep grinding, do your best, and sometimes that best is pretty spectacular. And that was true for a lot of our kids. So it was a good way to end that whole thing out. So.
Spencer Hill's joining us here on Nuanez. Now it's our Bitterroot Breakdown, presented by Farmers State Bank. He's the head coach of the Corvallis boys and girls track programs. They each took home the Class A state title for the second year in a row. And talk about a mark that it sent ramifications across all Montana. When this hit, the Twitter timeline completely blew up. I mean, I was getting texts from all over the place. Olivia Lewis doesn't just break the state record in the long hurdles. She shatters it. She breaks it by more than a second. And this is a record that stood since 2013. Lizzie Harper from Missoula Sentinel had the all-class state record. She went on to have an outstanding career at Washington State. And I think we're probably going to be hearing from Olivia Lewis quite a bit when she carries on her career there at Montana State as well next year. But I know that she's been sort of building up to this, Coach. But what did this take? I mean, that is one of the most grueling races, period, in the sport of track and field. And that's a record that was way out there, and she now put it way even more out there. So what did this take for your star hurdler?
Oh, gosh, it was a dream we had 2 years ago when she was a sophomore, finished her sophomore season, and hit the last hurdle, went from first to third in the last hurdle. No, I'm sorry, that was a freshman season when that happened. But anyways, we had a lead on the Dillon girl, Shipman, and the Shipman girl ran her down. But we made that dream at the end of the sophomore year, saying, hey, this can be our step pattern. And there's so few people in high school that it's worth it to count steps in the 300 hurdles. For me, anyways, I don't really start worrying about steps until you're at the top of the top.
Right.
And so we did that at the end of the sophomore year, started counting steps. And at the end of last year, I said 41's possible. I said it's not probable, but it's possible if we hit our step pattern right. We didn't hit it right once our entire junior season, and we didn't hit it once right our entire senior season until state. We hit the step pattern right for the first time in 2 years, the one that we wanted. And I don't know. I'm going to sound a little bit arrogant here, so forgive me. But that record is for Montana, Sydney McLaughlin-esque.
For sure.
She like Liz Harper is the only girl in the history of the state to go under 43 seconds. Nobody else in history of the state has gone under 43 seconds, and now Olivia is under 42 seconds. And that's just, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And the funny thing is, I was watching the video of it. Now, of course, I'm a coach, so I watched the video 100 times to see what we did right or what we did wrong. And I think we had another half second in her And that was my fault because I wasn't aggressive enough with what her step pattern could be. I think we could have been even more aggressive with the step pattern after watching it. So it was amazing. Just gave me goosebumps. I hoped that everybody in the stadium knew what they were watching because that was it's the best thing I've seen in track and field. And I've been around it for quite a while. So.
Well, let's talk about that element. Spencer Holzer joining us here on Nuanez Now. You've been doing this for a long time. I've been following this stuff for 20-plus years. This last weekend, not just at the Class A meet, but across the state of Montana, was the single best track and field weekend I've ever seen. You had 7 all-class records broken. I mean, you have kids obliterating these marks. I mean, the kid at Gallatin, I mean, he broke a record that stood since 1980, and he broke it by 6 feet. You know, I mean, you had your shot put thrower. He blows the shot put mark out of the water as well. Olivia Lewis, and I mean, on down the line, the Todorovich sisters. I mean, this is as good as track and field has ever been, and I don't even think it's that close, honestly. But why? Why do you think that is? Why do you think track is at such an all-time high right now in Montana?
Gosh, I think just we've gotten some momentum. I think we've built towards this. I think the athletes are looking at track and field as something that is worthwhile to do. I think that the USATF being as popular as it is right now, I think we've got some legitimate superstars in the USATF that people can watch on TV and see and say, hey, that's pretty cool. I'd like to do that. And so the athletes aren't just doing football or just doing basketball or just doing any one of their team sports. They're deciding, hey, track and field can be pretty good too, and it's starting to, people like you covering it is a big deal too. It's getting some more coverage, and it's just people are liking it, and those athletes start thinking, hey, that's something that's worthwhile to do, not just worthwhile to do. And I always make this argument with kids who don't want to do track and field, maybe a football player or something. I say it's the only sport where at the end of the season you're faster and stronger than you were at the beginning. Most sports, you come in and the sport wears you down. But track and field, if the sport wears you down, then your coaches have done it the wrong way because you're actually supposed to be faster and stronger at the end than at the beginning. So I think that's part of it too, is they're seeing this as a real benefit for their other sports. I think some of the studs that we see are even better in their other sports, but we get to get them, and we get to see them. And we get to see them do pretty amazing things out there as well. I agree with you, Coulter. I think this is the best track and field state meet I've ever been a part of. Like, not just my meet, but the AA and the
for sure
amazing results. And that made me really, really proud to win it. You know, sometimes you're not a great team, but you're the best team in the state, and you win it. This year, to be able to win both the boys and the girls in this competition, it makes me pretty proud of my kids because they beat the best. And they beat some pretty darn good kids and some pretty darn good teams, and it's a real accomplishment for them.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, you go to the AB meet where you guys are at. I mean, you got college athletes competing in like every single event. I mean, it's amazing how the level of talent. I mean, like you say, sometimes you just win because you're just the best team, even though you're not that great of a team. But I mean, Whitefish girls, Columbia Falls boys, I mean, on down the line, there are so many great athletes across the board. So it is, I'm sure that makes it even more sweet for you guys.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, and Wyatt Miles, you mentioned him. I want to keep going.
I have to, yes. More than 60 feet in the shot put. Unbelievable mark by him. Sets the Class A record. 60 feet, 9.5 inches, the official mark for Wyatt Miles in the shot.
Absolutely, and not only that, but the best Class A shot put competition ever. Andrew Burrows goes second at 58.11, which is 6 inches further than the previous one. You know, so I just great. It's, you know, and to steal from Sydney McLaughlin, if you can't tell, I'm her fan.
How could you not be? I mean, she's like must-see TV. I watched the whole meet the other week when she was, I mean, because she was going to run the 200, but she usually doesn't do it. She blew that out of the water, too. Unbelievable.
Yeah, 22:04 or something like that, something ridiculous. But yeah, she when it was her and Dalila Muhammad going back and forth and dueling it out, she would always say, "Hey, iron sharpens iron," and really that's what we saw this week. Competition makes better competition, and gosh, you have two kids in the Class A 200, 2 girls in the Class A 200 under 25, when 2 kids in the history of the state in Class A have been under 25, and 2 of them in the same race. and then 2 more at 25:03. It just was ridiculous. It was ridiculously good. And that, like you said, it was across the board. Other than probably girls and boys high jump and the boys pole vault, there was just really great marks all over the field, everywhere. And it was just fun to be part of.
Well, super fun to follow as well.
Yeah, I was unfortunate that Brooke Zatuni fall started in the 100 because I think that all-class record would have gone down too. I think it's possible that she would have run under 12 seconds, which I think happened one other time in a wind-aided. But I don't think any fair wind under 12-second 100 has ever been run. And I believe she would have done that this weekend.
Unbelievable. Spencer Holmes, head coach of the Corvallis track and field programs, the Class A state champions, boys and girls track. Coach, we're up against it. We really appreciate you taking some time for us, and congratulations again.
Yeah, thanks, Coulter. It's always a pleasure to be on.
There you go. Our Bitterroot Breakdown, presented by Farmers State Bank. Farmers State Bank have been enriching the lives of Montanans since 1907. We're doing it like a Monday show, but it's a Tuesday. That means it's a Tag Tuesday. Taglieri Deli, free on the other side. Plus, we'll give you some thoughts. Can the T-Wolves stay alive, or is this the most lackluster, boring conference finals in NBA history? I jest a little bit, but stick around for the sandwiches. We'll give you the answer to that question. Free Tag Tuesday coming next. Don't change it dial. Keep it right here. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
Join Greater Good Health and the American Red Cross for a community blood drive on May 29th from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Greater Good Health's primary care clinic in the Northgate Plaza on North Reserve. Your donation can help save lives. To register, visit redcrossblood.com and use code GreaterGoodHealthMT. Your blood donation ensures local hospitals have the supply they need, and it all comes from generous volunteers like you. Mark your calendars for May 29th and join us in making a greater good. Thanks for giving back, Missoula.
This is David Odell with the Missoula Symphony inviting you to Speakeasy Symphony Friday, June 7th at the Doubletree Inn. This swanky event is sure to be a memorable one with dinner, dancing, a unique limited live auction, plus live jazz music. Speakeasy attire is encouraged for this themed event. Please join in the celebration. Speakeasy Symphony Friday, June 7th at the Doubletree Inn.
Brought to you by season sponsor, The Good Food Store.
I call myself a confident backseat driver. Mom, brakes, please.
Gotcha.
But I'm less confident in the economy.
Same here, buddy.
Thankfully, Les Schwab Tires helps make sure that our safety never takes a backseat, even when we're watching our wallets.
Roll into summer. Save up to $200 instantly on a wide selection of tires and wheels. Les Schwab Tires. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. Details at leschwab.com/sale.
Fundraising is not always a popular word. Then you throw in some parents who don't really know what to do, they can become really stressful. Vertical Raise can do hands-on implementation with any high school sports team to maximize your fundraising efforts. Peter Hamill is an expert in making the process easy and ensuring your team gets the biggest check possible so that your season can go smoothly. The online fundraising abilities of Vertical Raise can help provide opportunities for family and friends of your kids to support them from afar. Not everybody can come watch a game, but plenty can contribute to a great cause. To find out how Vertical Raise can maximize your money, visit verticalraise.com.
The third annual Missoula Pride Celebration is June 14th through the 16th with over 35 events celebrating queer joy. Most events are free in all ages, but ticketed events include the popular Drag Brunch at the UC, now with 2 seatings, the 6th annual Pride Night at the Ballpark with the Missoula Paddleheads, and the 2nd annual collab with Tell Us Something with Going Home Stories, along with Revival Comedy, Handsy Craze Burlesque, and more. Don't delay. These events will sell out. Follow along on socials at Missoula Pride or find tickets and details at MissoulaPride.com.
Big Sky Autism Project and Heartism Community Center present the Superhero Many Abilities Fun Run and Festival, June 22nd in Stevensville. Walk, run, or roll in the 5K or 1K. There will be food, fun, activities, and lots of family fun. Join in on this fun day, the Superhero Many Abilities Fun Run and Festival, June 22nd at 300 Park Avenue in Stevensville. Visit BigSkyAutismProject.com for more info and to sign up.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I gotta give me my way. Next to you, can you sit next to me? Oh. Memphis alone, 'cause you do it for me. I know you would. All the kicks from the sticks, all the kicks
A little spoon for you on the way back. Welcome back. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Missing the show today, you can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast. Presented by the M Store, the MSU Bookstore, and Schulte Law. It's available on all of your various podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe, and everything in between. Appreciate those fine sponsors for helping us bring you the Nuanez Now podcast every single day. It's a Tuesday. That means it's a Tag Tuesday. We got free Taglieri for you. Taglieri Deli has 2 locations here in Missoula. One on the corner of Beckwith and Higgins. The other on Wyoming Street, the first floor of the Cognizant building. You can order online, pick your sandwiches up. They also have great Italian-style goods. You want some free tag? Call right now, 406-888-1029. We'll go first to the draw. Quickest to the draw, 406-888-1029. Call right now. We are rolling right into Missoula Paddleheads. They are on the road for the first part of this baseball season. They are already 6 games in. We've had the action on the radio each and every night so far. They got things started off with a loss in Idaho Falls, but then bounced back with a huge win the following evening, and then they won a couple in a row. This last 6-game series with Idaho Falls, they go 4-2, including a 16-run performance, an 18-run performance, and then a 21-run performance on Sunday. 21-18, that's a football score. They also lost 21-13 on Saturday, and they won 18-17 on Friday. So I don't really know what to make of all these high-scoring deals, but if you like runs and you like offense, the Paddleheads and the Pioneer League is certainly for you. They start their second series of the year at Ogden. Ogden Raptors, they'll be there tonight all the way through June 2nd. That's a Sunday. Then they open up at home on June 4th. That's a Tuesday against the Great Falls Voyagers. 6:30, first pitch from Ogden. So we'll just roll right into Jeff Safford, and he'll give you a little bit of an elongated pregame show, give you the who, what, when, where, and why, and how of what's gone down so far during this young baseball season. Congratulations to whoever won our Taglieri. Thanks so much for calling in. Also, a potential closeout game tonight. The Boston Celtics made short work of the Indiana Pacers. I did not see it going like that. I thought the Celtics would win the series. I thought the Pacers would win one at home, though, and maybe make it a gentleman's sweep, but not so much. Tonight, we'll see if the Timberwolves can elongate the series. The Mavs are playing at home, so that makes it even more uphill sledding for the T-Wolves. I don't know, man. The T-Wolves are plus 1.5. I would stay away from this one because, first of all, I just got to stay away from the Mavs. We'll have all sorts of fun talk tomorrow, including Matt Brown, Extra Points newsletter, talking about the wide world of college athletics. We'll see you tomorrow, 4 p.m. This has been Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
It's time for the Montana Club Comfort Food and Game Day Drink Specials. Every Saturday and Sunday, the club's Grizzarita Huckleberry Margarita, Caesars, and Bloody Marys are only $8. Pair them with custom grilled prime grade Montana Club steaks or a tender prime rib sandwich. And don't forget the cheese fries. Full menu at MontanaClub.com. So get into the Montana Club today for an unrivaled flavor experience on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Hi, it's Dr. Tim McHugh here from the Montana Imaging Center. The Montana Imaging Center offers the best MRI at half the price. That's right, we're half the price of the other imaging centers with the highest quality images for your doctor. And you'll get your results read in a jiff. You have a choice for your MRI, and we want to be that choice. If you need an MRI, give us a call. We can easily transfer that order to the Montana Imaging Center and make the switch for you. Visit MontanaImagingCenter.com for more information and to book your MRI today. That's MontanaImagingCenter.com.
You've got a debit card and phone app. Does a brick and mortar bank really matter? You bet your boots it does. Step inside any one of our Farmer State Bank's 10 unique locations. Open a new account, apply for a loan, rent a safety deposit box, or arrange for the trip of a lifetime. Personal service and attention to detail, along with all the mobile and electronic services you've come to rely on. Farmer State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Hey Missoula, ready to dive into some sizzling deals? This weekend only, Mountain Hot Tub is hosting a spectacular pop-up sale at the Ravalli County Fairgrounds. Don't miss out on their lowest prices of the year. Check out unique one-of-a-kind spas, 2023 demo models, and a wide selection of refurbished hot tubs with prices starting at just $19.95. These deals won't last long. Hurry in to meet the Mountain Hot Tub team and find the spa of your dreams. Sale starts Thursday, May 23rd at 10 a.m. Mountain Hot Tub at the Ravalli County Fairgrounds. They can't wait to see you there.
Fleetwood Mac certainly is above most of the rest. And I even get tired of Dave Matthews. I know all you guys think that I'm like Dave or die, but in fact, I go through months-long phases where I don't listen to any of that. Play me some Fleetwood, I'm down. But I always wonder, if you're Stevie Nicks or Lindsey Buckingham or Mick Fleetwood, and you hear that song come on the radio, are you like, gosh, I'm a genius. Listen to those harmonies. Oh, so good.
Talking music, pop culture, occasionally sports, and who knows what else. Every weekday from 4 to 6 on Nuanez Now.
You're invited to join a Carousel for Missoula for their inaugural Pickleball Tournament and Family Fun Day fundraiser, Saturday, June 22nd and Sunday, June 23rd at the Peak Pickleball Club. There will be family fun events on Saturday from noon till 4. Players of every skill level are encouraged to participate. Registration is through pickleballbrackets.com or learn more at carouselformissoula.com. Thank you for supporting Carousel for Missoula, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
It's time for Missoula Paddlehead Baseball on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. We'll have live play-by-play coverage of all the Paddlehead baseball games this season. Now, your Paddlehead pregame show.
Well, from here in downtown Ogden, Utah, at the base of the Wasatch Mountains, just off 24th Street, it's time to get rolling with some Paddlehead baseball here on 102.9 ESPN Radio, Western Montana sports leader, and 1029ESPN.com. Tonight, for the first time since August of 2021, the Missoula Paddleheads are in Lindquist Field for Game 1 of a 6-game set opposite the Ogden Raptors. Glad to have everybody along for the ride with us, on the air a little bit early than usual with the 6:30 start time, coming right out of Nuanez Now. Always a great listen from 4 to 6 here on ESPN Radio. Paddlehead baseball come in with a record. Paddleheads come in with a record of 4-2 after that opening series of the season. The reigning, defending, undisputed 2023 Pioneer League champions, however, come in with a record of 1-5. Their opening series here at home at Lindquist Field also, so a 12-game homestand for these Raptors. Surely they're getting comfortable here at home in just a few miles north of Salt Lake City, about a half-hour's drive from Salt Lake. But it's good to be back in this yard. Mentioned it the last time the Paddleheads were here was the end of the 2021 season. It was, looking at it, a game, I remembered it was late August, and yes, date August 29th. That was a Sunday, and it was quite a memorable game, actually, for Missoula. It featured a late, torrid comeback from a small deficit coming down the stretch. Going into the 8th inning, Ogden, in a low-scoring game, had a 3-1 lead over Missoula, but the Paddleheads, in the top of the 8th inning, mounted a 6-run rally to take control of that ball game, and they would eventually win it 8-5 in that 2021 regular season that saw the Paddleheads claim a league title, going 65-31. Ogden had a good season that year as well, finishing at 54-41. Some highlights from that game a few years ago. League MVP Zach Almond was in the lineup that day. He was hitting 5th. Killicam Thompson, the one man that remains from that 2021 team, he was also in the lineup. a little bit different spot for him from what we've got used to seeing over the years. But Thompson was actually cleaning up that day for Missoula, playing shortstop. Didn't do much offensively. Great season, though, for Thompson in 21, finishing with a